On this week's Hot List, Future Focus, the president kept his middle ground at G20. Where does Joko Widodo go from here? Breaking barriers, what urgent issues continue to block the disabled? We talk with disability rights activist Ilma Rivai. And platform panic, what's happening with Twitter in the hands of Elon Musk? And should you keep tweeting? Hello and welcome. This is Hot Indonesia. I'm Dalton Tanonaka in Jakarta. Let's get to it. My co-hosts, Linda Ibrahim, writer and business consultant based in Jakarta. And sitting in for Millie this day is Cheryl Morella, managing editor of Tatler Indonesia magazine from her office in Bali. Hot topic number one, Future Focus. Indonesia's shining moment in the Bali sun, the annual G20 summit of leaders on home turf this year for President Joko Widodo. 17 leaders came, but Russia's Vladimir Putin didn't after some called for his exclusion. Joko had tried to be a mediator in the Russia-Ukraine war, visiting both countries in June. You know, ladies, at first I thought not having Putin here was a failure on Jokowi's part to play the impartial mediator, but and of course, ultimately it was the Russian president's choice. But maybe not pushing Putin hard to come was the best strategy, so he wouldn't dominate the agenda. Linda, what do you think?
Yeah, I think there is a point to that because if you see what happened on the Monday before actually the meeting started officially, Joe Biden met for the first time with Xi Jinping. And it hadn't happened before. And I wondered if Putin had come, if that would have happened, And of course, Joe Biden had sort of like backtrack, saying that it wasn't like, oh, kumbaya with the Xi Jinping. That's a direct quote from him. But I thought that was actually a good plus to happen. And we also saw for the first time meeting Rishi Sunak with Emmanuel Macron. With Justin Trudeau. They were having some beer and mango spritz. And that also happened rather casually, all the laugh and everything. And I think maybe not having Putin after all was not such a bad idea. Because if that had happened, what would have been going on was all of this tug of war between Russia and Ukraine in dominating the conversations.
Yeah, that's why I said maybe he didn't push as hard as he could have, not that he could have forced the Russian president to come, but he after one request, maybe he didn't do it anymore. Now, inviting Ukraine's president to speak virtually showed statesmanship, I thought. Many G20 leaders openly support Ukraine's fight. Cheryl, Joko showed his awareness of world sentiment, I think, finally, in my opinion, calling for an end of the war in his opening day remarks. How do you think he did?
I think our president did such a great job. I think his presence has been really amazing as well. And I have seen all these leaders from around the world, when they saw him, when they met him, shook his hands and all that, they all pretty much have huge amount of respect. And when I saw that, like deep inside of my heart, when I saw everything, I was so proud. Like, I am so proud being Indonesian. I'm quite proud as well that this whole event. So I was there this week and I have seen everything going down so far. And I think Indonesia also have been doing such a great job in hosting this G20 event.
Well, Cheryl, I mean, he's the host, so everyone's going to be cordial. Are you saying that you thought they showed him more respect than just being the people hosting the party?
I think they do. Yeah, I think they do show him more respect, more than just because you're the host. And I think that's why I said I'm proud.
Why is that? Why would they?
I think it's also because he can hold his own, and that's why he has more respect from all the leaders.
Well, prior to this meeting, he wasn't known for that. He had not has been as comfortable in going to world gatherings outside of this country. He didn't travel much, if you remember, in his first terms. Linda, he does seem a lot more at ease these days, and I guess better late than never.
Yes, if you remember correctly, that was the biggest criticism towards Jokowi on the first term, is that he wasn't playing the world stage. He actually still this year skipped the UN Assembly, if you remember. I mean, just like less than 2 months ago. I think there's a bigger scenario at play. What I understand from Jokowi is that he's very calculating. So this shift suddenly towards, oh, let's play the international stage, chair of ASEAN, chair of G20, is part of what he thinks he wants to be remembered towards the end, because I think he knows Indonesians especially have very short-term memory. So this would be remembered by Indonesians and anyone associated with Jokowi after 2024 or towards 2024, instead of what he did on the first term. So I know I'm being cynical. I've always been very cynical about Indonesian government, whoever, regardless of the president. So yeah, that's what I think.
So building his legacy in his final year in office.
Yeah.
Okay, looking forward, Cheryl, what would you like to see from the president, whether domestic or abroad, in his final year in office?
I think Indonesia has been through a lot since the pandemic 2020, and the economy has been recovering slowly, but hopefully surely. And there are still many problems to solve. And in order for Indonesia to really recover stronger, I think what the president needs to focus on is the digital aspect, which I think we are kind of already starting it. And digitalization is one of the agendas of G20 as well, if I'm not mistaken, because the world is heading that way. And when we know how to manage our digital industries, we can help and fix other sectors through it too. And I think the G20 summit has been a great opportunity for nations like us, like Indonesia, to share our vision for the future with each other. And I'm actually quite excited about what's coming next.
I think Jokowi gets it. I think he gets the digital revolution. I mean, it's long past, but he may not know all the technical things, but I think he's advised well on the digital industry. And before we go from this segment, I want to correct something I said last week, that Bali was going to be the first face-to-face G20 summit after the pandemic. Leaders did meet in person, if you remember, in Rome last year. Okay, Hot Indo will continue shortly with breaking barriers, what the disabled continue to struggle with. We ask activist Ilma Rivai.
Saya ingin mengumumkan kerjasama dengan The Indonesia Channel. Saya mendorong semua entitas untuk bergabung dalam upaya ini dengan mempromosikan produk dan layanan mereka di platform digital yang unik ini.
I love Indonesia. I love the food. Yummy. Wow. I'm gonna hunt for ingredients. Now I'm ready to cook. Let's go to the kitchen. It's done. Let's meet to eat.
Foodiepedia on the Indonesia Channel.
one place,
but a collection of memories in many places.
it's where conversations create connections.
And where seasons change, but not a moment is wasted.
Because it's where we live.
And the Ascot lifestyle we have come to love.
Ascot is where we want to be.
Hi, I'm Rory Hee. You're watching the Indonesia channel, the home of good sport.
I'm Trần Minh Ngân of VCCN Net Việt in Hanoi.
I'm Thairat Thumya of Thailand's Thairat TV in Bangkok.
I'm Monica Sambodet from the National Television of Cambodia in Phnom Penh.
I'm Raymond Go of Malaysia's TV3 in Kuala Lumpur.
I'm Glenda Chong of Singapore's Channel News Asia.
I'm Raisa Chantami of the Indonesia channel at the ASEAN Secretariat in Jakarta.
This is your weekly look into the dynamic Southeast Asia region.
ASEAN Today on the Indonesia channel.
The Best of Bali takes viewers on a special guided tour to the treasures of the island of the gods.
Well, the romantic dinner is beautiful.
The Best of Bali, only on the Indonesia channel.
You're watching Hot Indonesia with Linda, Cheryl, and me. Here's hot topic number 2, breaking barriers. It is called the Jakarta Declaration, adopted in October after a decade of work in fulfilling the rights of the disabled. More than 60 Asia-Pacific participants ratified the 6-point plan that includes more meaningful participation in making policy and accessibility of goods and services. Host Indonesia pledged to do its part, but leaders acknowledge that there's much more work to be done. Now, just from a layman's perspective, ladies, I see little accommodation for the disabled here in the capital compared with other major cities in the world. And that's just the physical barriers I'm talking about. Real quickly, Cheryl, before we get to our guests, is that fair to say?
I think that's very fair to say, yes. I have a lot of questions on this matters, actually.
I mean, I don't see ramps, I don't see signs, I don't see accessibility as they should in a major city in the world. Okay, let's get some input now from someone directly affected by the Jakarta Declaration. Ilma Rivai was born with cerebral palsy and is wheelchair dependent. She joins us now from her home in Jakarta. Ilma, thank you very much for being with us. First question to you, how much progress have you seen in the 10 years since the last declaration in Incheon, South Korea?
Based on my perspective, and I do see it like through my eyes, the accessibility sometimes it's just for show, and yeah, like for example, if there's any ramps or like in streets and stuff, it's not interconnected, right? So for example, the ramps from across the street is there, but like the pavements are not like ramp connected. So like we can't even get across the street, even though there's like a ramp across the street. It's like it's not interconnected. And it's really weird. It's Jakarta. I've seen it like in few places.
And that's just the public spaces. I mean, we're not even talking about private buildings, and that's up to the private sector to do, which is another issue. Real quickly, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best, Ilma, how would you rate accessibility in Jakarta?
For the malls itself, it's quite accessible today. But for, public spaces, generally, I think for myself, it's a 5 because I'm a person with disabilities with wheelchair dependent. It's not really accessible.
Well, 5 is better than I thought you'd say. So at least we're getting there, I hope. Okay, Cheryl, question for Ilma, please.
How do you think we as society, though, can educate the people around us so that their point of view of somebody who has disability actually changes, and not to see them as not good enough either to be included in work areas, in other industries, and all that. How can we actually empower the community, the disabled community, and also educate society to do so? How do you think
Oh,
should
well,
be done?
yeah. Aside from ourselves educating people, like people with disabilities, like be more open to explain themselves and not saying that, we're a taboo or anything like that. First of all, maybe, yeah, it's the government. It's the best. I mean, like the government needs to accommodate, and they need to have like maybe like commercials to say that, or something like a program on TV to say that people with disabilities exist and they can contribute as much as the non-disabled in the society. So we need to accommodate them for them to reach their full potential to contribute to the society.
To educate and socialize the issue. I mean, it's something that has been with us for years and years and years, and it's sad that it isn't more mainstream as far as public awareness. You know what? And Ilma, I know you work with activist groups, and here on the Indonesia channel, we provide free airtime for nonprofit, especially public service announcements. So we'll give your group 30 seconds free to get, at least we can do our part to get our message out. Okay? So we'll talk about that after the program. Linda, question for Ilma, please.
Jakarta has been really trying to push people to use public transportation more because we have this traffic jams. I wonder if you've tried perhaps Transjakarta or MRT, and if you have, what do you think about the accessibility for disabled in those two transportation choices?
I've tried MRT.
Okay.
And MRT itself, it's still not that accessible because, between the platform and the MRT itself, it has like this gap, right? Between the platform and the MRT.
Okay.
Therefore, I can't, I'm getting like an example. Unlike Japan, there's this person, there's this guard who helps us to go against that gap. But, during the MRT, there's no person who helped me to go to the MRT because my friends helped me. 3 of them helped carry me to the MRT because there's that gap.
So there's still work to be done in public transportation. Ilma, the barriers for the disabled go beyond just sidewalks and escalators. What are the problems for the disabled in getting services?
First of all, let me just, highlight this one thing. People with disabilities have less access for education. People with disabilities are usually they're elementary or junior high school graduates. Then they don't have enough access for higher education. Less than 3% of us are university students or university graduates. So we due to that lack of education or lack of information, we can't access the things that we are supposed to access because we don't have the knowledge to access it. That's the main reason.
And how about attitudes and reactions or prejudices of employers or people you seek information from? Do you still find that a problem?
Yes. It's not where, aside from, for example, if persons with disabilities, they are blind or they are deaf, they don't talk to people with disabilities directly. They talk to their carer. Supposedly, the approach is that they talk to the person directly, not to their carer or not to their not to their interpreter. And that's how there's that less of a disability awareness now in Indonesia. But I hope that in a few years to come, there's a progress in that sector.
Well, Jakarta Declaration, we have 10 years to make good on all this. Ladies, before we have to go, any questions from Cheryl or Linda on one more question to Ilma?
Yeah, but Ilma, at recent fashion show, I start seeing this group their makeup artists and their models being used for fashion shows on the runway and on the runway and in the backstage. What do you think about those initiatives?
Those initiatives are okay, I think, to see, the diversity and all that. But, the actual goal to make it like more inclusive and to make it more known, it's not really that, for myself, of course, for my opinion, it's not really that effective because, the people who are exposed to that are only in the fashion industry, not as a whole. There's not that much effect for the whole community. It's like a bit, for me, it's a bit exclusive, I think.
Okay, and it goes back to, again, education. Everybody needs to help each other understand the barriers that remain, even though there has been some progress made. Okay, Ilma Rivai, disability rights activist, thank you very much for your time and best wishes to you.
Yeah.
More Hot Indo is ahead. Platform panic, the changes and confusion on Twitter under Elon Musk.
Produk lokal memang handal, kreasi lokal memang spesial. Ayo beli buatan negeri, bangga sekali produk sendiri. Dari busana sampai kria, kuliner juga buatan kita. Ayo beli kreatif lokal, marilah beli produk kreatif lokal. Pejuang negeri, beli kreatif lokal, banggalah beli produk kreatif lokal.
Hello, this is Anggun and you're watching the Indonesia channel, hot programs, cool people.
I'm Caitlin Turner, and welcome to Yoga Bliss. Exhale, reaching down to triangle pose. Roll your knee out and up to the sky, breathing here.
Yoga Bliss, only on the Indonesia channel. This is the Indonesia channel.
You are watching iPop Playlist.
iPop on the Indonesia channel.
You're watching Hot Indonesia from Jakarta. Hot topic number 3, platform panic. The buyout was full of conflict, but the fun was just beginning when Elon Musk took over Twitter on October 27th in a $44 billion deal. Users found themselves not as visible on the social media platform as before, advertisers left, and a new plan to allow users to pay for the blue check verification created unintended chaos. Chaos such as a man named Jesus Christ getting verified. Linda, you're a regular tweeter. Any worries beyond getting followed by Jesus?
Yeah, I think what has happened is three big things. People impersonating big brands and tweeting things that are untrue, and then stock crashes of these companies. Whether or not you like the big pharma or the defense industries, it's one thing, but to cause stock crashes, wrapping up money from stockholders.
You're talking about Eli Lilly, right?
Eli Lilly and Lockheed Martin.
Okay. Yeah.
And then there was also the Tesla. Even Tesla got impersonated. So that's one problem on its own. Just for the sake of $8 subscription, that people can do that. But I think what's bigger problem for Twitter is that you can't tell the difference now. You can tell the difference now between a really verified and just $8 verified kind of accounts. And two is that it seems like it's all just about monetization of the platform. We understand that the platform has to make money, but Twitter has been so thriving and leading a lot of discussions simply because monetizing never really took the first share. If Elon had looked at what Mark Zuckerberg did not right with Facebook and Instagram, and there is a reason why there was a hordes of people leaving Facebook and Instagram going toward other app. It's because of the monetization that went awry.
Well, he paid $44 billion, which I think he overpaid. And he's saying they're losing $4 million a day, so that's his logic for $8 per account. It won't make it back very quickly, but I guess he's trying. Now, I tweet regularly, as you do, Linda, and see no differences. Of course, I'm not a high-profile political user, and they're complaining of getting blocked or deleted. But Cheryl, can bad publicity be good for Mr. Musk?
It really depends on what he thinks about bad publicity, right?
Well, what I mean is he says it's more use of Twitter than ever.
Oh, yeah, because I was going to say there's plenty of, Twitter has been through a lot this past few weeks, basically, like being bought by Elon Musk, who has since been accused of being Twitter trolls. And there were rumors that Jack Dorsey was trying to take over as a CEO. And then also the backlash of all these Twitter trolls and all that. But then it's not all bad news, I think, because the platform has also seen an increased activity during this period of change and uncertainty for Twitter, with users turning to the platform and then they're expressing their opinions on everything from the future of Twitter, of course, or any other social media platforms, and also complaining. But yeah, the activity is actually going up.
I will continue to stay on the platform. I think, and I get a lot of news off Twitter from the various news organizations who tweet their headlines. They got to get this impersonation thing under control, Linda. That is, you're right. It causes, if it affects somebody's business, it's not cool. Yeah, and it could be illegal. So let's hope they solve their problems in the next couple of weeks, because time passes with each second and with each tweet.
You know what? He fired 2 people over Twitter disagreement. So his employees tried to correct him. If you look at the Twitter actually official account, hasn't tweeted since Elon Musk took over. It was Elon that kept tweeting things that are happening in Twitter.
Yeah, he answers individuals, which is crazy for a CEO.
Yeah. For a CEO of 3 companies, you answer all of those, and then he got baited into like tweet wars with his own employees, and he fired them, 2 of them. And then this morning, I woke up, I look at them, he rehired those 2 people back.
Yeah, he at least he admitted his mistake. Yeah,
it's petulant. I mean, that's the word I would use, and usually I don't use it for someone of that age group.
Okay, and he had time to talk to us here in Indonesia at the B20 conference right before G20, so we're thankful for that at least. He had time for that. Okay, it is feedback time now, and BMO had this to say about cabinet members running for office. How can we separate their campaign expenses? It will be clear corruption. And Purwoko suggested this: the National Hero Honor should be given to Mohammed Natsir, heroic in spirit. Here's how to contact us with your feedback. Email at hotindo@theindonesiachannel.com or comment through our Hot Indonesia or Indonesia Channel Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube pages. Final words, Linda.
G20 is in full swing in Bali, and a lot of things have been coming up alive. One thing, unfortunately, is also in the rise. It's the return of a COVID wave. What we have this week is exactly what we had in March 19. That's how high for the positive cases and the mortality as well. So my only take this week is that if you must go out anyway, because it's no longer possible to not going out a lot, just be mindful, wear your mask, and don't shake hands too much, because we're on the second Omicron wave, I believe.
Final word, Cheryl.
We often think that the world as a place where nothing changes, especially if we don't see it right in front of our eyes. But it's not true. Change happening all the time, whether we are aware of it or not. And we can also be part of that change by making small changes in our own lives and then sharing those changes with others and make a ripple effect.
And my final words, yes, Indonesia is home to more Muslims than anywhere else in the world, but Christmas decorations have already been up since the beginning of the month, with Santa singing Jingle Bell Rock at the malls. I guess it's a way to encourage holiday shopping earlier as we recover from the pandemic. I also hope it reminds people to treat each other well. And that is Hot Indonesia for this week. For Linda Ibrahim and Cheryl Morella, I'm Dalton Tanaraka. Thank you for watching. Please join us again next time.